Hi there, it's Laurel. Thanks so much for joining me for another Simply Card Making video. Today I'm going to be making this Bokeh dot Christmas tree, or maybe it's pronounced bouquet. I don't know, but anyway, I'm going to make these cards right here in the video today. Super easy to do, and they're very flat, so they're perfect for running through the mail. You know what I'm saying? So basically what I did was I created a little template here, a Christmas tree. I took an X-Acto knife and a ruler, and I cut out that Christmas tree free-handed with an X-Acto knife, and now I've got myself a little template here. So I am going to trace this tree onto my 3 card front panels. I am using Neenah's Solar White cardstock. Any cardstock or any color you want to do is perfectly fine, but creating this little DIY stencil was the easiest for me. I tried other ways of doing it off camera and it never worked out quite like this. So, and if you have a die, by all means you can use your die cut as a guide, or you can use the die cut piece. It's really whatever you want to do. But this was the simplest way for me, and now I've got my 3 little panels here with my Christmas tree. My little Christmas tree shape. It doesn't look like much now, but I'm going to be using these bouquet dots. Bokeh? Bouquet? I don't know. I'm going to look that up. But I'm going to use some of those solid circles here to create my tree. And I've got some different color inks here. Any inks you have in your stash is fine. I'm going to be using Hero Arts Soft Pool, Hero Arts Mint Julep, Hero Arts Pale Tomato, and then one of the Hero Arts Ombre ink pads for my cards today. But I think you can use any inks and any color combinations that you want to use for this. I'm going to go in and basically just start adding the dots. Really no rhyme or reason. I chose that ombre ink pad because I can get 3 colors out of one rather than pulling out 3 additional ink pads. So if you have a lot of ombre ink pads, that might be a good source for you. And then you don't have to pull out quite as many ink pads. But if you're like me, you have a lot of colored ink pads, so it's really not that big of a deal. But anyway, I've got all my little dots. The little solid dots work best, mounted onto acrylic blocks here. And I'm just going to go in and pick up the various colors. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just going in and filling in the spaces here. I started with the bigger circle first and kind of worked in the corners or off to the edges, and then I'll go in and build all the circles around. Now, once I got this first card done, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, to tell you the truth. I am doing this stamping part of the tree live, so I had no idea. I didn't have a finished project, or I hadn't done one previously, so I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, and I'm just basically winging it, which is mostly how I do all of my projects. But anyway, but once I figured out that this was going to work out, I made my other 2 cards pretty quickly, and I'll show you that a little bit later on in the video. You can see I'm going in and adding in some of the bigger circles. It's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to do circles, you could do other shapes. I think circles probably would look the best for this, but by all means, use what you've got. This is just kind of a jumping off point for you. So again, just basically stamping, really, no rhyme or reason. And once I am satisfied with all of the placements of my dot looks, that little bouquet stamp set even comes with this teeny tiny dot. You can also use other things you can use for dots are tips of your erasers on your pencils. Look around. You can use the tip of a round stylus. I bet you if you look around your desk right now, you can find like 2 things you could use to create little circles. Am I right? Did you find something? So now I'm going to go in with a Copic marker and basically just hand draw in a trunk for my Christmas tree here. And then I'm going to take my eraser. Make sure you do this. I have totally forgotten to erase pencil lines before. Have you? But I have, so I'm going in and erasing all of the pencil lines. I'm using one of those little pink erasers from Target. Grab yourself a decent eraser. You don't want to like pill up your paper or anything. And then just erase those pencil lines and then go in with a marker, colored pencil, whatever you've got, and hand draw in your tree trunk. And I'm pretty happy with how this looks, and I need a sentiment to go along with it here. So I'm going to use this stamp set by Neat and Tangled. It was actually in the Stamp of Approval Holiday Magic Collection. And I'm going to use the sentiment that reads, "Have a blessed Christmas," on all 3 of my cards. I absolutely love this sentiment, love the font. I'm going to stamp this with some Onyx Black VersaFine ink because I love the crisp impression that this pigment ink leaves behind. It's just fantastic. I'm just going to stamp it right there on the middle of my tree. I wanted the left and right of the sentiment to hang off the tree just a little bit, so I made sure to strategically place that sentiment where I did. This is a bow I cut from glitter paper from a die cut set by Winnie and Walters called Noel's Cutaway. cute little bow, and I just die cut that with some glitter paper, and now I've got the bow for the top of my tree with a little bit of sparkle to it. I'm going to adhere this down to a red card panel. I've already trimmed to 4¼ by 5½. And I don't think I mentioned it before, but the panel here that I just did all the stamping on is actually 4 by 5½ because I wanted some of the red card base to shine through when I adhered my card panel down to the top. So now that I've got that nice and adhered, I'm going to take some stickles. This is actually the color Christmas Red, and I'm being very light-handed as I put on these stickles, but I'm going to go back and end up putting bigger globs of stickles onto my tree. I think the Christmas Red stickles really ties in nicely with the red glittery bow, and I'll show you all the cards again in just a minute. So now that I'm satisfied and I think that I really like the card design, I'm going to go ahead and assembly line it. And I'm going to make a whole bunch more of these cards because this is the card design that I'm going to use for my Christmas cards this year. So I'm just going to, right now I'm only doing 2, but I'm going to go 5 or 6 at a time, just lay them side by side, and whatever I stamp on one card, I'm just going to continue to stamp on each one, and then just keep going, and you'll find that it's really easy to do in an assembly line form. So I'll just take one dot, pick up the ink, stamp it on one card, do the same thing to the next card, and so forth and so on. And then in no time you'll be done. So with these cards, I actually have my iPad next to me, and I was watching, what was I watching? I think reruns of West Wing. I watch a lot of West Wing. I don't understand any of the political stuff, but I watch a lot of West Wing. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, so yeah, so if you don't have this kind of stamp round solid images, take a look on your desk and see what you've got lying around. The tip of an eraser works real nicely, like I said, and also the tips of styluses. So just see what you've got if you don't have something like this in your stash. I went ahead again and stamped that same sentiment on both of these cards. Now I did use the Onyx pigment ink, so that stays wet longer, so be careful not to brush your hand over the top of it or you will smear your ink. So what I should have done, which I didn't, but I should have zapped this with my heat tool and gone ahead and set that ink, so if my hand accidentally got on that ink, I wouldn't have smeared it. Luckily I didn't with these cards, but just saying, that pigment ink does stay wet longer. So I am adhering my bows down with my favorite glue. It's Ranger's Multi-Matte Medium. Dries completely clear, so if any oozes out all over, you'll never see it. And now again, I'm going back in with that Christmas Red stickles and just putting dots here and there all over the place. And like I said, it ties in with the sparkly red bow and also the red card base. And here I'm going to go back in and redo, I was pretty skimpy on those dots there, so I'm going in and refilling those in a little bit more. You could also put, if you don't have stickles, you could use little gems or little sequins. There's many ways that you can embellish up your trees a bit if you'd like. And then that's it. That's it. I think this is a really fun card design for Christmas, and this is what I'll be using for all of my Christmas cards this year. So thanks so much for watching. All of these supplies that I used are linked below in the YouTube description and also over on my blog where I have some more still shots for you. And if you aren't already a video subscriber, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking that button right down there at the bottom. And I will actually be back tomorrow. I am part of a video hop, so I'll be back tomorrow for another card set. Think gold watercoloring. I'll see you then.